assuming that, like, I'm not even sure. I think Ian and his mother were going to come in and play this with us, but there's different elements. We've got the map of London, which I think, does it look crooked to you? Good enough, I guess.
They're crooked streets. It's London.
I mean, it's a mess. You got, we've got each copy of this game comes with 10 case files, and I don't know if they're going to do expansions where you get more of them, but I probably should put a message or somewhere on here, or say somewhere on here. Spoilers, many spoilers. Once you've completed a case, you can't really play it again. It's kind of like Time Stories in that way. I guess, no, you can't really play it again. You'll know all the answers, because at the end, you score yourself against Sherlock Holmes, and if you're going to see how he came to his conclusions as far as the different clues that you go through. And the idea is you want to complete the quest or complete the case by going through as few leads as possible. If you have the same number of leads as Sherlock Holmes, then you don't get any bonus points, and he starts out at 100. So you have to first answer 2 questions to try to get 100 points so that you can equal him. And then you have 2 more questions where you can get bonus points. And then you go through how many leads you had. And for every lead above the leads Sherlock Holmes had used, so say he used 4 leads and we used 10, we would lose 30 points. You lose 5 points for every lead above what Sherlock Holmes did. If for every lead under what Sherlock Holmes did, you gain 5 points, so you can beat him.
You should gain more than 5 points.
You can actually win the game with a negative score. It's actually possible. Because if you solve the case, you win the game. But did you also, in addition to that, outsmart Sherlock Holmes? That's the idea or the concept of the game. And it's sort of like a choose your own adventure, kind of, because you've got the case, you're not actually going anywhere. You have numbered locations on the map that will help you find the leads in this phone directory, and vice versa. And they're color-coded, so important places, let me get that instruction manual out of the way. Looks cool on camera, but it's not going to help if it's covering the map. Normal kind of places that don't really mean a whole lot are the regular yellow colors and the green colors and that sort of thing. Areas that are important, like opera houses, that could be important in a case, or specific homes of leads, or of assistants, which we will have a list of the folks that Sherlock Holmes typically uses to help himself in cases, and their locations where we can go to get information from them or help from them. Those locations will be orange, so you'll see some of these colors are orange. And then you'll notice that some of the areas are red, and the red buildings are like areas where the police either work or live.
Because that's New Scotland Yard.
Yep. So there's a lot of neat stuff in here, and they're segmented in 5 segments. You've got your southwest segment, northwest, there's Central West. It's listed as CW in the cases and in the instruction manuals, but it's WC up there. EC is the same thing. East Central is listed as CE in everything. Just think of it that way. Then you have your southeast area. And so if you need to go to a specific place, it might say 39 Southwest, and you just look over in Southwest, and they're all in numerical order, and you just find them, and 39 Southwest is right there. And you know that's where you want to go. This is just to help you find different things. Like you might notice, the reason why it's important is maybe the crime occurs here and you want to look for the numbers of different places that you want to question around that crime, right? That's the only reason why the map is really super important. You could technically play without the map. Also, this game can be played in 3 different ways. It can be played solo, which is kind of fun, you know. So if you're somebody who doesn't get to play a lot of board games with friends, you can play it solo, kind of like a choose your own adventure type of deal. You can play it with everyone working together to try to solve the case, and you can play it with everyone competing against each other to try to solve the case first. So I'm going to ask you guys what your opinion is. How do you want to do it? Do you want to play as a complete co-op where we all work together, 1 or 2 people take notes, and then when we think we're ready to solve the case, we go for it? Or do you want to play where everybody's trying to solve the case on their own? The way that works, if you think you have enough information to solve the case, you're going to grab a separate piece of paper, and you're going to answer the questions. You're going to go to the back of the case, and you're going to answer the questions, flip your paper over so nobody can see, and then you're done until everybody else is ready. You don't get to further investigate or change your answers at all. And then at the end, you know, folks get to see who was right. So you can do it that way, or we can do it full co-op. What are you guys in the mood for?
Well, if you're going to try and include people in chat, I think the co-op is Mind of
Full
the
co-op would be
choice.
easier. It would be easier because otherwise
It'd be
I'd be
hard for
like,
them to-
okay, so here's your questions.
Yeah, it would be hard for them.
Because obviously I can't know what these questions are.
Yeah.
If I, you know what I mean? Like, and nobody who is still solving the case can know the questions. Because if you know the specific questions that it's going to ask you to solve the case, then you're going to know how to solve the case. So, okay, we'll do 100%, 100% co-op. Who wants to be our note taker?
That should be Ian, but he's not here.
Yeah, I don't see him on yet. I can give one of you a notepad and some paper. A notepad
I
and
think
some
you're,
paper.
I think
A
you're
pen.
gonna have to. 'Cause I don't think anybody.
You don't even have to take notes. It's just in some of these cases. I think the first one is the easiest one, so you might not even have to worry about it. But I guess the cases can get pretty confusing.
If they weren't, then anybody could be a detective.
That's true. That's true. And I don't know if these are actually. I would assume these are all based on the books a little bit. So, but I don't think they'd be too much like that because if they were, then if you've read the books, you've got an advantage. I don't think it's like that, but I think the idea of them. I'll let you take the notes. I have to maintain the camera. Okay. Where'd the manual go?
It's upside down.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so I just need to check and see if there's anything additional that we really need to know. Oh, we're gonna roll off to see who the lead investigator is on the first turn. Oh, there's Ian. I'm on. I had to wait for annoying ads. 2 minutes. This is Ian. Sorry, Ian. I am looking at the chat. 13-second delay, buddy. Actually, I think it's a 3-second delay now, but... okay, so we have Ian. He's on. So if you'd rather he take the notes, he can. Or we all can take notes. Have it, like, folks in chat taking their own notes. We'll see who the lead investigator is. We're going to roll at the table to see who the lead investigator is, and then we'll insert folks from chat in between those folks. Now, for the people who are playing in chat, whoever went before that person will be the person who maintains the book for them and reads the clues for them. They'll tell you what they want to look at, and you'll look it up and read it for them, just to make it easier for the folks in chat who want to play. So we'll do that first. Let's real quick roll off to see who the first, or who the current, I think you're actually lead investigator for the whole thing. I think. I might be wrong, but we'll roll off and see who that is. 14, maybe. Or not.
Yeah.
My die. Hates me. Loves everyone. Hates me. Alright, so you are the lead investigator. Let's see, that's why you had to take the notes.
Yeah.
I'll just take that off the tabla. Alright. One day we'll have 200 viewers and people will be able to subscribe to our channel and they won't have to deal with ads. Or they can just subscribe to Twitch, which is the same price, and you don't get ads on anything.
Turbo.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple things to note. In the directory and in the clue book, the way locations are listed is slightly different. And also the locations are actually kind of like neighborhoods. So in some cases, a location might be like a hotel, and then you're looking at like a leads list and you notice that somebody lives on that space. It doesn't mean they live in the hotel, it means they live next to or near the hotel. So just be aware, they're neighborhoods. It's not always just a building that's at that location. There's also a movement scale right here. So if you need to know how long it takes to get from one location to another, approximately, and obviously they're not always walking in that case. I mean, nobody's gonna go, 15 minutes, well, I guess. But if you need to kind of try to figure out where a person could have gone, this is the key for that. And it also helps you check alibis and that kind of thing. So there's that. And then, excuse me. Oh yeah, it says to simplify it, we'll assume the speed is fixed no matter what transportation method was used. So whether they walk or whether they ride a horse or drive, to get that length of distance is going to take 15 minutes no matter what. Which is good because that'd be horrible to try to remember that. So the short form used in the booklets and the directory for addresses are things like, if you want to go to Hyde Park, it's 95 and W. So you would look for 95 up here. In the journals, which you might come up in here, you get some journal entries. They word it just a little bit differently. It would say probably the street name, so it might say 95 Park Lane Northwest. And it basically is the same thing. You're looking for 95 Northwest and a road that's near it. So the phone directory and most of the other entries are short form, whereas in here you get a little bit more detail. So be aware of that. This has all of the people living in London at the time of in 1888, which is where our case is located. You can find their address by looking up their name in here and then finding them on the map. It doesn't correspond to reality to simplify the game. It's just how they divided it up on the map. And then we already talked about the case booklet. We're going to talk about, I'll read the introduction so that we know kind of what the base of the case is. And then there's going to be leads text that we can choose to go to or not go to. Lead investigator is the person, when it's their turn to be lead investigator, it's going to go around. But during their turn, they're the ones who get to choose what the lead is. Now, they can ask for advice, but they ultimately get to decide what lead we investigate during their turn. And then as we move to the next person and the next person, they can choose different leads if they want to, or they can choose not to do a lead. You can, if you think you know the solution, even if we haven't figured it out, we can talk it up and then decide whether we want to actually try to solve the case or not. So it definitely encourages back and forth discussion, quite a bit. And the leads are sorted by district, and in each district the leads are presented in increasing order. So they'll start out with a lower number and then work their way up. Now, as soon as you think you've solved the case, you'll have two sets of questions. The first set is always directly linked with the case. And then the other two questions will allow you to get extra points by seeing if you picked up on some other things that were important that didn't necessarily relate directly to the case. So you want to try to pay attention to everything that people say, because it might say, how did, John know that there was a robin on Sarah's porch? It'll be something really weird, off the case, but it's something that you should have noticed as you were questioning people. And that's a way to get bonus points. And then afterwards we'll score. There's also newspapers, which will have some clues. And normally, if you're doing a later case, you're going to get the date of the case and then previous days. Since we're doing case number 1, we have the London Times, March 12th, 1888, which is glowing like a supernova on camera. Holy crap. All right, so we'll be reading this for you guys. But that's the newspaper that we have for this particular game. And it can give you new leads. Now we're playing together, so we've got the map out, we've got the directory ready. We'll have the newspaper over there just so it doesn't blind anyone watching the show. And then, okay, we already got that. We've got the lead investigator. Okay. You're going to choose a lead from the current case. We'll start with you once we read through the introduction. And you're going to say, I want to go to the scene of the crime. I want to go to talk to this person. Just let us know. You're going to find the address in the directory and go there. Now, if the lead doesn't exist in the book, meaning you're looking in the case book and you're not finding that lead, then you do have to look for a different lead. And it just means for whatever particular part of that case that we're in, that lead doesn't lead you anywhere. That can happen. I don't know that it'll happen with this one because this is the simplest one, but it could. I haven't played it, so I don't know. But that doesn't mean you can't circle back to that lead later when it becomes an actual viable lead to the case. And then when you found your lead, then you read the paragraph out loud. We could take notes if we want to, and you'll want to write down that lead was followed because we need to keep track of how many leads we're doing. And then your turn is over. Now, you want to be really careful when you're looking at this book to not accidentally read any of the other leads. Because it will literally ruin the game. And it's tough because these leads are listed really close to each other. Yes, so just try to find the lead you need, read that paragraph, and just ignore everything else. And it's very similar in that way to Tales of Arabian Nights. It's sometimes easy to read the wrong list, and then it kind of ruins the game. So We'll be careful of that. Then once you've taken your turn and you've done your lead, the book will pass the person to your left. That person will be lead investigator. They can choose another lead or suggest we've solved the case. We'll keep on going until, we finally decide we think we might be able to solve the case. Now, on your turn, you can only read one lead. So if there's multiple things you want to do, you can suggest to other people what you want to do on their turns, but you can only read one lead. So pick your leads very carefully. And then once you've, if you've gone to a lead, you can go back and reread that lead at any time. So if you can't remember what was said, if your notes are unclear, you can say, can we talk about or look at what we looked at 2 turns ago? So-and-so's house or whatever. And you'll have the lead listed, so you'll know what to read. And we can reread that. We're allowed to do that as many times as we want, as long as we're careful not to read leads that we shouldn't be reading. And then once we've decided that we want to solve the case, we're going to move to the end of the book, and we're going to look at the top 2 questions and try to answer them. If we're successful, we solved the case. Then we're going to look at the second questions to see if we can answer them. If we're successful with that, we'll get bonus points. And then we're going to see if we can beat Holmes. I've already kind of talked about how we can beat Holmes, so I'm not going to go too into how to score that. We'll just do that when it's time for scoring. And then these are our lists of Holmes's allies and their locations if we need them. I'm actually going to read them out loud real quick because folks might not be familiar with his leads and what they can do. But we have Sir Jasper Meeks. He is at 38 EC, which is up here. And he's the head coroner at the St. Bartholomew Hospital. He autopsies all corpses discovered in the course of investigations. And then we have H.R. Murray, and he's at 22 Southwest, which is down here. Right there, actually. Did I hit the right? Yes, right there. And he's a criminologist. He analyzes all items and substances discovered during the course of the investigation. Then, of course, we've got Scotland Yard at 13 Southwest, which I think you already pointed out. Mm-hmm. They're the police, represented by Inspectors Lestrade and Gregson. They have all the reports and elements relative to the investigation. Then we have Disraeli O'Brien, 14 WC, which is, it says, yeah, it's right up here. He's the archivist at the National Archive Office, and he compiles old legal and criminal documents. And then we have the Somerset House, which is 17 WC, which is right near his house. Archives the births, deaths, marriages, wills, and wills which may freely be consulted. Yep, thank you. We have Edward Hall at 36 EC, which you're closer to that than I am.
Around this way, because it's 39, so it's there somewhere.
He's a lawyer at Old Bailey's Tribunal, source of information of trials and legal affairs. We have Porky Shinwell, 52 EC, owner of the Raven and Rat Tavern, source of information for all illegal affairs and all criminals. We have Fred Porlock, 18 Northwest, member of the Criminal Underground, leaves coded information on the activities of Moriarty, leader of the Criminal Underground and sworn enemy of Holmes, at the Parsons and Son Toy Shop. Henry Ellis, 30 EC, journalist of the London Times, source of information on current events and especially foreign affairs. And then we have Quinton Hogg, 35 EC, journalist of the Police Gazette, source of information on criminal affairs. Mycroft Holmes, 8 Southwest, Eminence Grice, source of information on everything which concerns the government. Langdale Pike, 2 Southwest, society columnist, knows all the gossip currently stirring in the Good London Society. We have the Central Carriage Stables at 5WC, meeting point with London cab drivers, source of information on the movements of suspects. Lomax, 5 Southwest, librarian in the London Library, to be consulted for all encyclopedic research. Hi, Kitty. And then we have Sherlock Holmes at 42 Northwest, consulting detective. If you're stuck in your investigation, Sherlock Holmes will put you back on track with some good advice. I'm just going to test something. You don't have to. I'm just listing them, Ian. But I'm going to see if you can see this. If I were to put this up here, can you? Yeah, you can kind of read this. So if you ever need to look at the list, let me know, and I will put it up on screen for you. And we'll also be looking at the list as well. And I'm pretty sure the clue book will give us some ideas as well. Jesus, freaking. So I'm going to put that there for now. And I'm going to read the opening, and then Beth's going to decide where we go first. You were noting. Okay, cool. Yeah, anytime you need to read it. Now I need to know who's going to play. I know Ian's playing. Is there anybody else watching who wants to participate in the actual investigation. Now, you can guess anytime you want, but if you want to actually take a turn, I need to know so I know where to fit you guys. I think we're going to have... We'll probably have Ian go right after you. Since you're taking the notes, we'll have you go. Then Ian can go, and then it'll be a little bit less burden on you because then we'll be doing the turns while you're writing down. So he'll be the second lead investigator. And then I think he's the only one participating. I don't see anybody else mentioning anything right now. So that doesn't mean that folks watching can't make guesses, though. It's just as far as when you're actually participating, you get to decide what leads we look up. All right, cool. So this is case 1, the munitions magnet, 12th of March, 1888. I think this is one of the ones that's typoed, so we might get frustrated. There's a couple of these that are wrong. They're different from the 1980 version of this game. And so folks have complained that it's been a little bit hard to solve it the same way that Holmes did. But we'll try. We'll give it the college effort. All right, so despite the lateness of the winter, March is still roaring like a lion. In fact, just as we alight from our cab in front of 221 B. Baker, a derby bat skitters by, propelled by the fierce wind. It says it's a hat, not a bat. Oh, wow, fancy writing, can't read it. A derby hat flies by, not a bat. In close pursuit is none other than Wiggins, chief of the Baker Street Irregulars. We're also members of the Baker Street Irregulars in this, basically.
Oh.
And after that, Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes' most able assistant. Before we can join in the chase, Wiggins manages to bolt the flying bit of finery with a deft stroke of his umbrella, arming it squarely on his head. He saunters back towards us. Hello, he says cheerily. It would appear that Mr. Holmes is summoning the troops, shall we? With the point of his umbrella of a very versatile tool, it appears, Wiggins stabs at the doorbell. It is several moments before Mrs. Hudson answers. After a brief exchange of greetings, she sends us on our way to Holmes's apartment. Above, we find Holmes and Dr. Watson sitting at the table engaged in earnest conversation with a gentleman in his late 40s, expensively dressed yet somewhat rumpled in appearance. Warm yourselves, says Holmes, and I will explain my reasons for calling you out in such a bitter morning. Coats and hats are immediately shed, there is a distinct pop as Wiggin removes his derby, and a rush is made for the fireplace. In due course, introductions are made, and the gentleman is identified as Mr. Richard Allen, brother of the late Courtney Allen, president of the Grant Arms Company. It is the recent death of Mr. Allen's late brother, says Holmes, that occasions this visit to us. Briefly, Courtney Allen was found shot to death in an alley behind his office, I thought that was a girl, on the evening of March 9th at approximately 7 p.m. by the constable on patrol. Scotland Yard has put the crime down as a simple robbery, by person or persons unknown, largely due to the fact that the victim's wallet was found empty near the body, and his gold pocket watch was missing. Mr. Allen was just telling us a bit about his brother when you arrived. Please continue, Mr. Allen. Well, Courtney was a dynamic individual, always busy, forever on the move, yet he had the unique ability to make 10 minutes spent with you seem like an hour. So complete was his attention to you. Of course, his charm worked like a magic potion for the ladies. You said he was married? Asked Watson with his raised eyebrow. Oh yes, poor Beatrice. Was he involved in an affair at the time of his death? Asked Wiggins. Yes, I believe he was, but I have no clue as to who the lady might have been. You see, the night before he was killed, I popped around to his office at about 5:30 and managed to coax him to supper at Keen's. We were there but a short while when Courtney begged leave. He indicated that he had an important meeting, and off Wiederspin he winked, and that wink meant a woman. Is the company financially sound? Asked Watson. Oh, quite. A fine investment for anyone's portfolio. You see, the company was founded as a small gun shop some 70-odd years ago by his great-uncle Thaddeus Grant. It catered to a very elite clientele. Most of the chaps in the regiment were equipped with pistols from Grant's, nods Watson. Why, Braxton, you've heard speak of Braxton. Holmes, he had a pair of the finest dueling pistols. Yes, Watson. Pray continue, Mr. Allen. Courtney, always fascinated by firearms, apprenticed himself to Uncle Thaddeus, and when Thaddeus died in 1873, he bequeathed his business to Courtney, while maintaining the original shop and its tradition. Courtney expanded into the international arms trade. With loans and the sale of public stock, he was able to build a plant at 12 Deverell Street for the manufacture of heavy ordnance. Today, the firm is debt-free and very profitable. Of course, a drop in the share price occurred with the news of my brother's death. Who has ascended to the presidency? Asked Watson. Courtney's picked a successor, Philip Marlowe, the second vice president. And why not the senior vice president? Young Lord Ragland, who runs the Deverell Street plant, is a brilliant technician but most inept businessman who inherits your brother's stock, his wife, Beatrice. Now I think we might examine the effects found with your brother. So saying, Holmes turns his attention to a briefcase and a large brown envelope. It looks as if some sharp object has been used on it, comments Watson, referring to a long gouge on the leather of the briefcase. Yes, and it's practically brand new. I gave it to Courtney for his last birthday, January 6th. As you can see, it's locked. The police found it that way. Courtney kept the key on a chain attached to his watch fob. The watch, of course, was stolen. Holmes retrieves a long piece of wire from the coal scuttle. After gaining Alan's permission, he inserts it into the lock, and with a quick flick of his wrist, springs lock open because he's frickin' magic. And he pulls out 2 folders for our examination. Each is filled with company papers and is coded to indicate the contents. One marked M as in Mary, B as in boy, -C, for instance, concerns various coal mine leases. Another marked S as in Sam 87V contains a listing of sales on the U.S. To the U.S. government during the preceding year. Holmes then empties the contents of the envelope onto the table. The inventory includes spectacles, a case, a ruby ring, a gold wedding band, a keychain with keys, an empty wallet, and a small notebook with a note. And the note says, SP10 Spaniard, tonight at 10 p.m., AH. And then on the planning book, it says, Bishop's F, 8:30 firm. Oh, sorry, 8:30 p.m. firm. Betty's mother's birthday, and that's for Thursday, March 8th. Friday, March 9th, plant 8 a.m. Surprise! And then Captain Egan at 8:30 p.m. Literally, I think it's a surprise inspection. If he's like, surprise!
Who knows?
That's March 9th, and then Saturday, March 10th, Brinton's Mine at 10 a.m., and then the U.S. Embassy at 3:30 p.m. And we can go back and look at this if we need to. And apparently he ordered a Victor's hat at Clark & Sons.
Twitch crashed, so Ian's missed like half of that.
It's okay. We'll do a quick recap afterwards, Ian. I just wanted to get through this for the folks who didn't.
Nancy finally got that. Sat down.
Awesome. Does she want to take turns, or does she just want to solve everything at the end? Do you know?
Don't know. So she just sat down, so.
Okay. Seizing on the notebook, Holmes observes, "Can you tell us who Captain Egan might be, Mr. Allen?" And Mr. Allen replies, "I've never heard the name." And Billy? Billy is Courtney's secretary, William Linhart. Or Linhart, sorry. Holmes compares the writing in the notebook with that on the note. They appear to be identical. He nods and says, "I believe to have enough to begin our investigation." After Allen has gone, Wiggins comments that his hand gestures were most intriguing. Combining infinite subtlety with tremendous force, it's easy to imagine that he has no trouble making his wishes known on the floor of the London Stock Exchange. "I don't recall Allen giving out his occupation," says Watson, puzzled. "No," replies Wiggins, "but certain phrases he spoke, coupled with the penciled notations in his left shirt cuff, stock prices surely, led me to conclude that he must be a stockbroker." "Bravo, Wiggins! Well, Watson, our young man has come a long way since the days when you described him as a dirty little street urchin, eh?" "Thank you, Mr. Holmes, but after all, I was taught by the master." "True," says Holmes, matter-of-factly, quite true. And I think that's it. Oh, there's one more thing. And then he shows us a detailed list of activities of Richard Camp, a development engineer on project number 10. As you can see, he was always bringing boxes and bundles to the French embassy. Emile Lobar, French military attaché, has his offices in the embassy. So you believe that Mr. Allen's wire implied that he had information implicating Camp in a security breach on project... Wait, I'm on the wrong thing. Ignore that. Ignore that. I accidentally did that wrong. Nope. Ignore that. Shoot. Now I just ruined the game. Yeah, so we have to figure out where you want to go first based on what you heard. And Ian, basically what happened is this guy, his brother was killed. Yeah, his brother Courtney Allen was killed. And
apparent mugging.
Yep, his watch was stolen. His watch had the key to the briefcase. Somebody tried to jury rig the briefcase, apparently. They think it was Scotland Yard thinks it was just a
Mugging.
mugging, right? Because his watch was gone, and wasn't his money was gone?
His money
too?
was gone. His wallet was left empty, I think.
Yep, and they tried to get in the case, obviously couldn't, so they left that behind. He manufactures guns for the government and for other people. Had a few appointments to make, and I've already forgotten when he was murdered. Oh, March 9th at approximately 7 p.m.
And the keys to the suitcase is also attached to the key, or to the watch.
Yep, it's attached to the watch. There's like a fob on it. And we know that if he died on March 9th at 7 p.m., he had already had the surprise visit to the plant.
To wherever. We don't know where he was
Plant plant 8 a.m. So that's plant. I would assume that's the only plant they have, right? Because
yeah, well, yeah. In the end, it sounded like they only have the one on Devereaux.
yeah, there's the plant on Devereaux, that was a particular one that he was talking about. So I would assume the plant on Devereaux is the one that he went to, but he never got to meet with Captain Egan because he died an hour and a half before he was supposed to meet him because he was supposed to meet him at 8:30.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's worth it.
Do we have any idea who Captain Egan was?
No, we don't because he asked about that and he didn't know.
Yeah.
Said he never mentioned the name.
Right.
And we can look at this again if we need to.
Yeah.
But if you decide where you want to go, we can find it in the directory and then you'll find the actual entry in here.
So today is 3 days after he died?
Yeah, it's the 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Was that March 8th or 9th for Captain Egan? March 9th, the day he died. He died an hour and a half before he was supposed to meet with Captain Egan. Nope, the surprise visit was on March 9th. March 8th was, he was going to go to Bishop's F at 8:30 p.m. And then he had Betty's mother's birthday. That must be Beatrice. That must be his wife's. His mother-in-law, maybe?
Probably.
So he had a birthday party to go to on the 8th, and Bishop's F, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 9th was when he was going to do the surprise visit. Okay, he's good. He's got it.
Okay. And he was found dead near the plant, right?
Yes.
Which is so basically just after.
Behind his office, actually. He's found shot to death in an alley behind his office.
Which is not at the plant.
No. Well, it doesn't say. We don't know where his office is. It just says behind his office.
Well, if he only has the one plant, then we can assume that the plant is where his office is.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, if his office, it just seems weird that he'd have a surprise visit at his plant if his office is at the plant, so he'd be there every day.
Yeah. Do we want to look at his
Surprise!
office?
Yeah.
I know, that's what it says. It's like, surprise.
Hmm.
Do we want to go to his
What
office
is-
then and see if he
what
had
is
any
the-
more info about the captain?
I am curious who the captain is, but
Doesn't mean we have
don't
to.
know how we'd figure out.
Oh, look, there's actually a picture of
that
the
is.
crime scene.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that his briefcase?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, so little wallet and dead guy. Yeah, okay. Wallet with a dead guy. He's got a man purse.
Mm. Yep.
Back then it was
Satchel.
distinguished.
Yes. Well, you know, that's the way it works.
Oops, I can't pick it up.
Just want to check to see the list of effects again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he
we have to
had,
go real
he had a
quick.
ring.
First
First
page.
page.
Yeah, it was first page, second, no, one more page over.
The very first.
That's
Those were the
second page.
notes.
Yeah, the very first.
Yeah,
page.
the first page
Okay.
after the, near the bottom is
yeah.
where you had it. It was
He
after
had a gold wedding ring and some other type of jewelry.
He had a ruby, a case.
Oh.
A case for something. It didn't say what. It didn't say if it was a cigarette case. It just said a case. What time of day is it? Ian's got it written down. Spectacles, case, ruby ring, a
Probably a
notebook.
case for the spectacles then.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, he's got, and then a notebook.
Yeah.
And then
Sure, it was on the first page.
it is something you missed, Ian, because I think the ruby and the ring were separate.
Well, he had a ruby and he had a gold wedding ring.
Maybe it's the top of the second page?
Were these his effects that were on him still?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting because none of that was stolen.
Right.
Well, was it on him in the
Or was
suitcase?
Oh, wait, no, that
or
was in the
it
suitcase.
Because it was in this briefcase.
You're right, then it is on page 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he popped open the case. And
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's not till actually almost 3.
Okay.
Which makes you kind of think it's not a robbery, because if there's clearly a key on the watch,
Yeah.
why didn't they try the key?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, though. If they're thinking it was like a smash and grab, they just grabbed whatever they could. They tried to get in the case, just grab the watch because it was there. They don't know the key.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
It's
If
there.
you're doing a smash and grab, you grab the case and walk off. You don't bother opening it until later.
Right.
If you have to break it open, you break it open. It doesn't matter. You're long gone by then.
Yeah, so my guess is it's not a smash and grab. Somebody was trying to get the case to begin with, didn't know the key was on the watch, couldn't get into the case, maybe saw somebody showed up,
Or
and they
someone,
ran and grabbed what they could to make it look like a robbery.
Then grabbed stuff to make it look like a robbery.
or the person already knows what's in the case, and they made it look like an attempt to get into the case.
That is true. It could be a murder where they just want to kill him.
Yeah,
The
they
key
want
could
him
also
to.
be used for more than one thing.
Yep,
for all
that's
we
also
know.
true.
The case is for the spectacles.
That's
Okay.
what I would assume, yes.
It's spectacles and case, comma.
Oh, okay.
That's what I expect. That's what I expected.
A
Okay.
ruby ring, a gold wedding band.
Okay, so it is 2 rings. A ruby ring and a gold wedding band. You're missing the gold wedding band, Ian.
A key, chain,
So he doesn't-
keys, an empty wallet. a
Which,
small
of course, it
notebook,
makes
and a
sense that he
notebook.
wouldn't be wearing his wedding
Oh.
ring because
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
supposed to be
if he's-
having that date.
Yeah, if he's if he has an affair, he's not wearing it.
Which apparently he was supposed to have before meeting the captain, unless he's having a date with the captain. Wonder if he's sleeping with the captain's wife.
that would be. Well, wouldn't be surprised by it. He does. He seems the kind of guy who doesn't really care much.
Yeah.
He could do whatever. Feel like he can get away with whatever he
And it
wants.
doesn't even say that it's his wedding ring either, though, so we want to be careful about assumptions, because
True.
if he had that meeting with her already before he got murdered,
Well, we would find out if we ever meet his wife, because if his wife doesn't have the same type of wedding band,
Yeah. Yep.
because it was,
I was thinking the same thing, and he's like, or the captain, LOL. I'm like, I know, I was thinking that too, but...
because wasn't it typical that it would be a matching type of wedding band?
Yeah.
If one was
Normal.
gold, it would both be gold.
Yep, unless you're dirt poor, which he wasn't, you would be able to afford matching wedding rings. But he was well off, really well off, apparently. So where do you want to go, lead investigator? Seems interesting to you. It's wide open at this point, so we can go anywhere,
Yeah, it
and
is
that'll help
wide
us narrow
open.
down.
Yeah, I mean, going to his wife and getting an idea of her feelings on the matter of his womanizing was probably good because
Or if she even knew about it, it would be nice to know.
right, because if she knows that she doesn't care because it's just like, I'm rich, I don't care. He does what he wants. It leaves me free time to do what I want.
Well, she's still.
Or it could be, I hate that and I hired somebody to kill him because it really irritated me.
Yes. So if it was a men's or women's ruby ring, it does not say.
No.
It just says ruby ring.
Hey, I know
What's
you're
his
still
last name
grieving
again?
about your husband who died 3
was
days
constant.
ago,
What was his
but
name?
Courtney
you was having an affair?
Allen.
Alan?
Yeah.
Okay, I just need to
And
find
Beatrice
her.
Allen, yeah.
You're going to be the most popular investigator in London.
Everybody talks to the grieving widow. It's just the way it is. It's like too darn bad. You just have to do that.
Yep, you do.
Mhm.
It's ALAN, right?
I'm assuming. That's what I guess it
Trying
was.
to find her. Alright, the
Yeah,
following directory is listed.
just like
Most
Barry.
characters will encounter in cases. Alphabetical by name category. For example, Charles Addard is listed alphabetical as Addard Charles with location.
There is no description on if the brother was wearing any type of a wedding band or anything, right?
I don't think so.
No. Well, we know he's in his late 40s and expensively dressed.
Yep.
Yet somewhat rumpled in appearance.
Yes. And Ian is asking, I'm curious if he discovered something during his surprise visit to the plant, though. I was thinking the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they were shutting him up. There's a lot
So
of
I mean,
things that could
that's
be
the
right
thing.
now.
We could investigate the plant for strange happenings there,
Mm-hmm.
or we can investigate the. It's basically which angle do we think is most likely?
Yeah.
Is it an internal matter that it was just like I was sick and tired of him sleeping around, so I hired somebody to kill him, or is it there's something going on because it's a munitions company that has international sales, and it's like I don't want you to stop us from selling these on the black market.
Yeah.
And you just found out, so we're going to kill you.
Yep. She's not listed in here as somebody we can find.
Then that solves that question.
Oh, wait.
Get
There
to
we
go
go.
to the
Courtney
plate.
Allen. You can actually visit Courtney Allen. That must be his office or his home. Right there. And then Richard Allen. We have a choice of going to Courtney Allen or Richard Allen. So I'm assuming if we're going to Courtney Allen, we're going to his house.
I would think so. Is Richard Allen this guy's
That's his
name?
brother.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you want to go to Courtney Allen. Okay, so you want to look up 14 NW.
Yeah, she would also know if he had been acting funny if he was doing something illegal.
Yep.
Or doing something. So, is it
I'm hoping
14 NW?
Yeah, 14 NW.
It's not like in order. There we go.
There it is.
Yep, that's kind of what I figured. Oh well.
Well, is it his body or something?
No. Our interview with Mrs. Allen is mercifully short. She answers our indelicate questions with a quiet, calm dignity that convinces us she knows nothing of her husband's murder that would be of any help to us.
Great. So under leads, let me maybe put on the side the leads. We want to put 14 NW. And then Betty sucks.
Well, but that means he wasn't doing anything illegal because she didn't notice anything unusual about him.
At least nothing that included her, or nothing that she. He wasn't hitting suspiciously enough.
Right.
Is there a bank to visit to get his financial records to determine if the brother's statement about the solid financial state of the business is accurate? Lawyer ally. Questions about legal troubles with the brothers. Do you want to, Ian? Because you're the lead investigator right now.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to the lawyer?
There is the legal.
Yeah, he's up there on
investigator help there.
Yep. We just need to find out what location he is.
So I'm checking right now.
Come on, just double check. Is that what you would like to do, Ian? Check out the lawyer ally. I should say Deckle so folks know who I'm talking about. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yep, he wants to look at the lawyer, so that is...
I could have sworn there's a lawyer in there.
There is. Yeah. There's archivist, lawyer at Old Bailey's Tribunal, source of information on trials and legal affairs.
Oh.
Edward Hall. Is that... Yeah, okay, he wants Edward Hall. It's 36 EC.
EC. WC... And you said 36?
Yep, 36 EC.
Alright, let's see. 36 EC. 36. We find Mr. Hall in his office, and he grants us a few minutes of his time. We outline the facts surrounding the murder of Courtney Allen. He leans back in his chair and thinks for a moment. It seems to me that Scotland Yard is incorrect in their assessment of the motive for this crime. A common thief would not leave behind an unopened briefcase, nor would he take the time to investigate its contents at the scene of the crime. Duh. Therefore, the motive for the murder must be obscure. It seems that you have quite a puzzle on your hands. I would like to help you, but at this time my caseload is far too heavy and my time is precious.
So you confirmed what we just thought.
So no help at all.
So we're right, 36 EC, also no help.
Because he already confirmed what we already suspected.
So we know he needed to go to the plant. We know he...
Scotland Yard is wrong.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Big surprise.
I wonder if we can look at his office. He's like, well, sorry. No, there's nothing wrong with
that's
No, it's
we had to rule that out.
The lawyer himself is not helpful.
Yeah, we're not
you.
mad at you. You
that
should be basically saying the same thing as us, that he was useless.
Yeah, that's...
It's because the questions we would like to ask isn't what's being asked when we go to the location.
That's the thing. When we don't have control over what's being asked.
Yes.
It doesn't look like we can go to his office.
You would think the plant is there. I mean,
Well, the plant is on... What street
Well,
was
what
it
if
again?
Surprise isn't...
It's on Devereux.
Okay.
12 Devereux.
Which you can probably find.
Yep.
Well, I don't know whether it's E... I don't know if it's southwest, east,
No,
central.
I should be able to find it just by going to Devereux. Yeah. Devereux. These very tiny words. Devohacken. Devicchio. Divine. Nope. I don't see it.
Well, look up Grant Arms Company.
Grant Arms Company? Okay.
That's the name of the company.
Alright.
Maybe we'll find it from there.
Okay. Let's see. Grand Hotel. Grant Arms Company, right there. Maybe we should look at that.
Yeah, because we're assuming that's where the plant was, and we're assuming that's where his office is, so that hopefully will actually give us some answers instead of answering questions we already knew the answers to.
Yep.
Or we
I was just saying, well, so much for that being helpful.
Oh, okay.
Alright, let me...
So you're on the same
No, we're not
page.
mad. Okay, let me steal that. And we will look at 5 EC. Oh, they're all, that's weird. Where are the E's?
5. So that's where the plant is.
West, WC,
Way up here.
EC. Here we go. Alright, so they're organized by section.
Yes, they're by section.
I got
EC's
it.
on the back.
Alright.